What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JohnnyKpicks. And in this video, I'm going to go over my full card, picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 52, Lemos versus Andrade. First things first, if you can hit that like button for me, make friends with that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any of my new videos or live streams. So UFC Vegas 51 was last night, and let me tell you, it was a crazy one. It had a little bit of everything: knockouts, upsets, point deductions, illegal strikes, faking injuries to potentially get a win, and twerking. Yeah, I said that right, twerking. But overall, it was an okay card. I will say though, the UFC does need to get their act together and either go with the rules that they have now or make different rules. They need to be more consistent with giving out no contest, or whether it's a DQ or not, or if it's going to be a technical decision, because I think everyone's a little confused on when it shouldn't be a DQ or a no contest, because if you look at last night, there was a couple instances where it went to decision and it wasn't a DQ or a no contest. But if you go back to the first Jan and Sterling fight, that was an illegal strike and that was a DQ, and Jan lost his belt. So there's just no consistency. I think they need to take a look at that. But nevertheless, I ended up going 10-4 on my picks, and I ended up winning plus 3.47 units profit. So as crazy of a night it was, I will take anything that I got from this card because, like I said, it was crazy. Anything could have happened. I could have lost all of my bets, and it was just one of those nights where I got lucky, and I'm just running with it. But some of the highlights for me were Lezez, Barriault, Fialho, and Muhammad. So all these guys looked really good in their fights. They all pretty much dominated. Lezez's striking was super clean and crisp, and I actually forgot how good of a striker he was. But make no mistake about it, he made it look really easy in his fight. And with Barriault, he out-grappled Gotzi for about 3 rounds, and I didn't think he would out-grapple him that bad, but man, he dominated that whole fight until the unfortunate illegal knee happened. And I really hope that people remember how good he was dominating that fight instead of that illegal knee, but I have a feeling people are going to forget about him because of the illegal knee. But just remember, this guy's legit. And with Fialho, he looked really good as well. I know in his last fight before this, he took it on short notice and he kind of gassed a bit, but he has some very powerful strikes, and when he connects, he will knock you out. So he's one to watch out for. And finally, Belal Muhammad, my guy. I know I didn't pick him, but man, his fight IQ is through the roof. He knows how to win every fight that he's in. And granted, he might not be a flashy KO guy or submission guy, but you know what? He gets the job done, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but hey, he gets the win. You have to give him credit for it, and he deserves a top 5 guy now. But alright, so let's get to my picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 52. So the first fight we have is Dean Barry versus Mike Jackson. Barry is 4-1, 29 years old, 5'10", and I'm not sure his reach. And Jackson is 0-1, 37 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach. So this is going to be a weird fight to start the night out, but I'm going to go with Barry to win. I'll make this one short because I kind of think it's a no-brainer pick, but both guys are strikers and kickboxers, and Jackson hasn't fought in almost 4 years, and he's 37 years old. And on the other hand, Barry's been active at least, and he does have KO power and he gets a lot of knockouts. So I do think Barry's going to go in there and eventually get the knockout in the first or second round, because with Jackson's inactivity and being 37 years old, I just don't see how he wins this fight. So with my pick, I'm going to say Barry wins by knockout. Next fight we have is Marcin Prachnio versus Felipe Lins. Prachnio is 15-5, 33 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach. And Lins is 14-5, 36 years old, 6'2", with a 78-inch reach. So with my pick here, I'm going to pick Prachnio to win. So Prachnio is coming in on a 2-fight winning streak, and every fight he is looking better and better. He has really good striking and really good kicks, and he also throws a lot of volume with power. And Lins hasn't fought in about a year and a half, and he normally fights in the heavyweight division. So I'm not exactly sure what he's going to look like on the scales. I know he wasn't a 265 heavyweight, but he was like around 240. But he's mainly a striker as well. But in his UFC career, he hasn't got a win yet. But the way I see this fight playing out is I do think Prachnio is going to be the better striker. I think he's eventually going to be able to get the knockout here. So with my pick, I'm going to say Prachnio wins by knockout. Next fight we have is Aoriqileng versus Cameron Else. Aoriqileng is 20 and 11, 28 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. And Cosce is 10 and 5, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. With my pick, I'm going to pick Aoriqileng to win this one. So Aoriqileng is moving up to bantamweight in this fight, but I do think he's going to be the better striker. And if this fight can stay on the feet, I think Aoriqileng should cruise to an easy win here. Cosce does have decent striking, but he's more of a grappler and he's a little bit more well-rounded. But as I said, his striking is not on the same level as Aoriqileng's. But the way I see this fight playing out is I do think it's going to be able to go to the judges' scorecard. And I do think Aoriqileng's going to be able to outstrike Cosce and stuff most of the takedowns. So with my pick, I'm going to say Aoriqileng wins this one by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Tyson Pedro versus Ike Villanueva. Pedro is 7 and 3, 30 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. And Villanueva is 18 and 13, 38 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. So in this fight, I'm going to pick Pedro to win this one. So I do think this fight's going to be fireworks for however long it lasts, but I fully expect a knockout in this fight. So Pedro hasn't fought in 3 years, which that's a really big red flag for me. But he's going to be the bigger fighter and the younger fighter by 8 years. And I'll be honest right now, I don't think Villanueva is UFC caliber, and I'm not impressed with him one bit. He does have decent power in his hands, but once you crack him a couple times, he's going down. So I do think Pedro is going to be able to crack him probably in the first round here. So with my pick, I'm going to say Pedro wins by knockout. Next fight we have is Dwight Grant versus Sergey Khandozhko. Grant is 11 and 4, 37 years old, 6'1" with a 76.5-inch reach. And Sergey is 27, 6 and 1, 29 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. So in this fight, I'm going to pick Sergey to win. So both guys are mainly strikers with kind of low volume, but I will say I do think Sergey is the more well-rounded fighter in this matchup. I do think he has a little bit more technical striking, but the big red flag for me again is he hasn't fought in 2 years, so who knows what he's going to look like. But the positives for Sergey though is he is more experienced than Grant. He's going to be 8 years younger, and like I said, I do think he's going to be the better striker. And the way I see this fight playing out, I do think it's going to be able to go to the judges' scorecards. And I do think Sergey is going to be able to outstrike Grant and maybe land a couple takedowns. So with my pick, I'm going to say Sergey wins this one by decision. Next fight we have is Jourdain Wright versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Wright is 12 and 2, 30 years old, 6'2" with a 77-inch reach. And Barriault is 13 and 5, 32 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. So this is going to be a tough fight to predict for me because on one hand, Wright is a fighter that I always tend to fade. And on the other hand, Barriault just got brutally knocked out about 2 months ago and is taking this fight on short notice. But gun to my head, I'm going to say that Wright wins this one. So Wright has a lot of power. He has really good kicks and knees and elbows, but usually he only has 1 round of that, and he kind of is chinny. And Barriault is pretty well rounded. He has decent striking and good wrestling. But to me, I don't think he has the knockout power to get Wright out of there. And the way I see this fight playing out is I do think Wright's going to go all in like he usually does in the first round and starts throwing strikes at will. I do think eventually one of those strikes is going to land on Barriault, and Barriault is going to fall down because, like I said, 2 months taking a fight after a brutal knockout is never a good thing. So with my pick, I'm going to say Wright wins this one by knockout. Moving on up the card, we have Luis Cosce versus Preston Parsons. Cosce is 7 and 1, 26 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. And Parsons is 9 and 3, 26 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. So this is going to be an interesting fight, but with my pick, I'm going to say Cosce wins. So I know in his last fight, he gassed out after the first round and he ended up getting knocked out in the second. But I do think he'll make the adjustments in this fight. He's going to be the better striker, but Parsons is going to be the better grappler. So for me, if Cosce can just stuff the takedowns early and keep the fight standing, I do think he's going to be able to get the knockout. And if he doesn't, Parsons is probably going to end up finishing him just like he did in the last fight. But with my pick, I'm going to say Cosce gets the first round knockout. Next fight we have is Charles Jourdain versus Lando Vannata. Jourdain is 12-4 and 1, 26 years old, 5'9" with a 69-inch reach. And Vannata is 12-5 and 2, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. So this may end up being the fight of the night because both these guys are brawlers, but I'm going to go with Jourdain to win this one. Both guys are really good strikers with good power, but Jourdain tends to throw a little bit more volume than Vannata. Vannata does have some wrestling in his back pocket, so if he does want to try to mix in some takedowns, I think he'll have a little bit of success. But I'll be honest here, I think this fight's going to stay on the feet. These guys want to put on a show. They're brawlers, like I said. I think they're going to go toe-to-toe for the whole 3 rounds. And I do see this fight going to the judges' scorecards. And if that's the case, I favor Jourdain just ever so slightly because of his volume. I think he's a little bit more crafty with his striking too. And he does tend to get better as the fight goes on. So with my pick, I'm going to say Jourdain wins a close decision. Next fight we have is Mudaerji Su versus Kape. Su is 15-4, 26 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. And Kape is 17-6, 28 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. So this is going to be a good fight, and with my pick, I'm going to say Kape wins this one. So both guys are going to be very good strikers, but I will give Kape the power edge. And both guys are coming in this fight on a winning streak. But as I said, I do think Kape's going to have the more power in his hands, and I do think he's the more dangerous fighter. I don't see either guy taking this fight to the mat. But if so, I will give Kape a slight wrestling advantage. I do like his wrestling when he does go for takedowns. But the way I see this fight playing out is I think it's going to be a striker versus striker showdown. And I do think Kape's going to be able to land the more impactful strikes throughout the fight. So with my pick, I'm going to say Kape wins this one by a fairly close decision. Next fight we have is Barber versus Montana De La Rosa. Barber is 9-2, 23 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. And De La Rosa is 12-6-1, 27 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. So we all know what happened in Barber's last fight against Maverick. She ended up winning, but she totally shouldn't have won because Maverick won the first 2 rounds pretty clearly, and it should have been a 29-28 decision for Maverick. But I digress, and I'm just not that sold on Barber. I know she's a really hyped up prospect, but I'm actually going to pick the underdog here, and I'm going to say Montana De La Rosa wins this one. So Barber's probably going to have the striking advantage, but in every one of De La Rosa's fights, she has improved her striking. But on the mat, De La Rosa is going to be the better wrestler and grappler. And in this fight, it just really comes down to where this fight's going to take place. If it's going to take place on the feet, Barber's more than likely going to win a close decision. But if De La Rosa can mix in some takedowns, and if her striking's improved a little bit more from last time, I do think she's going to be able to get the upset win here. So with my pick, I'm going to say De La Rosa wins this one by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Tanner Boser versus Alexander Romanov. Boser is 28-1, 30 years old, 6'2" with a 75.5-inch reach. And Romanov is 15-0, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. So in this fight, I'm going to pick Romanov to win. Boser's going to be the more technical striker here, but Romanov is going to be the bigger fighter, and he's definitely going to have the wrestling advantage. And let's make no mistake about it, Romanov wants to get this fight to the mat as quickly as possible. And I do think he's going to be able to get Boser down fairly easily here. If you go back to the Boser-Latifi fight, Latifi was able to get Boser down a couple times and just stay on top control and basically win that way. But Romanov's going to be able to get him down, and he's not going to just stay on top. He's going to stay active. He's going to do a lot of ground and pound, maybe work for some choke submissions. So I do think Boser here is in a lot of trouble if he gets to the ground. But if this fight does stay standing, Boser has a legit chance to win this fight. But I don't think, like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. So with my pick, I'm going to say Romanov wins by like a ground and pound knockout in the second round. Next fight we have is Guida versus Claudio Puelles. Guida is 37-21, 40 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. And Puelles is 11-2, 26 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. So this is going to be a fun fight. And with my pick, I'm going to pick the underdog, and I'm going to say Puelles wins this one. So both guys are good grapplers, and they definitely want to get their opponents to the mat. But I will give Puelles the striking advantage. Guida is going to be the better wrestler, but Puelles has very good BJJ. So if he does end up getting taken down by Guida, he's very good on his back working submissions. And I know Guida is 40 years old, but his cardio is still insane. He's always super active and always moving left and right. But the way I see this fight playing out is I think Puelles is going to do very good in the striking exchanges at first. And then once that happens, I think Guida's going to figure out he's going to need to wrestle. And once Guida tries to go in for takedowns, I think Puelles is going to be able to stuff him. Or if he does get taken down, he's going to be able to reverse Guida and just stay in top control and work the grappling. I do think this fight's going to go to the judges' scorecards. So with my pick, I'm going to say Puelles wins this one by decision. Alright, main event time here. We have Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade. Lemos is 11-1-1, 34 years old, 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. And Andrade is 22-9, 30 years old, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. So this is going to be another fun fight, and unfortunately, I'm going to go with my arch nemesis and pick Andrade to win this one. So both fighters are really good strikers that have a ton of power, but I do think Andrade is the more well-rounded fighter in this matchup. I do think she's going to be able to take down Lemos whenever she wants because she's going to be the stronger fighter here. And a red flag for me with Lemos is in her last fight against Angela Hill, it was debatable that she definitely won that fight, but she was gassing in the second round and third round. And this is going to be a 5-round main event fight, so I have no idea how she's going to be able to go 5 rounds. And Andrade can go 3 rounds with no problem, and she has gone 5 rounds before in her career. And honestly, I just think this is a bad matchup for Lemos, but I wouldn't completely rule out Lemos because she always has a puncher's chance. But like I said, I do think Andrade is going to be the more well-rounded fighter in this matchup. And the way I see this fight playing out is I think Andrade is going to be able to bully her a little bit throughout the first few rounds, and maybe late in the 3rd or 4th round, when Lemos is a little bit gassed, I do think Andrade is going to be able to get a knockout, whether it's ground and pound or whether it's on the feet. So with my pick, I'm going to say Andrade gets the knockout in the 3rd or 4th round. Alright guys, so those are my picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 52. Thank you everybody for watching, and on your way out, please hit that like button for me. I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend, and until next time, happy fight night.